my 11 YouTube friends? Oh, I spilt a little bit. Cheers. Hanging out here at Tommy's with the Nutter Speed Shop crew. We got Nutter, we got Lonnie, we got Dennis, and we got Tommy. Very special sled you guys just heard running. Deafening, absolutely deafening loud. It was so loud we tried filming it inside of Tommy's garage here. It shut the film off. It wouldn't take it. It was so goddamn loud. But, so we drug it outside so we could fire it up. Nutter, you got to tell us a little bit about your channel. Nutter has a channel called Nutter's Speed Shop. They do all kinds of fun stuff on their channel. They do some stuff like this, but Nutter has its own way of doing things. So what do you guys actually do there?
Well, we're another sled channel, which is ironic because I've known Todd, and that's not how I knew him, was from sleds. But we're another sled channel. I guess I'd say, you know, Todd's sort of your Kindig custom, super high-end custom builder, and we're more like roadkill, making do with what we got, and out ditch banging and beating on our stuff pretty hard, or, you know, just having a good time. Mostly, though, the channel is about having a good time in the shop with the guys.
Yeah. Yep. And you guys all kind of have your own kind of spot in the builds too. I mean, I watch all the videos. I know Trenton watches all the videos, but you guys kind of have your own position. I mean, kind of go down through what you guys all kind of specialize in, because some of you have some nicknames here. So some of you have some nicknames.
Well, we got details, Dennis. Go ahead.
I like to see a clean sled. I think maybe I could work for Todd someday.
Right? We like our stuff clean. Yeah.
I like the clean stuff, but you know, the details, making sure fuel lines are the right length and clipped to the right, but get that grease and grime out of there. I really hate that.
That's the place to start.
Yeah.
The build starts at getting a clean slate to start with.
There's a certain person that is really good at sinking carbs.
Yeah, well, I might be the carb guy. I do a pretty good job, I guess, cleaning out the carbs, and which we do on our channel, and bogey wheels and bearings, and
I'll just say,
kind of my specialty.
Clean the carbs?
Clean the carbs.
Clean the carbs, yeah. So I got to say, when Nutter came over and visited me this summer, I said, I think you got to give Lonnie the nickname called Bearings, because I've watched this guy change more bearings in the last 2 years, but I've watched Trenton change more bearings in the last 2 weeks than you did in the last 2 seasons. Yeah, he's done.
You got any pointers?
Yeah, he's on skid number 5 here in just the last couple of weeks. So yeah, he's gone through his fair share of bearings. The sled here is Tommy. So Tommy's been the guest star, I guess, on the last few episodes of Nutter's Garage on the build of the speed sled here. And what is in this sled for an actual engine?
This is a PSI Genesis 2 Polaris motor. Started out at 650 base. It's got Boswell carbs on it, and it came from, if you'll turn around, a little picture on the wall, it came out of that sled.
And Marv Jorgensen. If anybody knows anything about going fast, everybody's heard of Marv Jorgensen.
Except...
Well, yep, and Tommy, yep. But growing up in the 90s and 80s, I mean, Marv was, that name always came up.
The unlimited class.
Exactly. I mean,
famous.
Absolutely. And the size of the carburetors is massive on here. Tommy's like, hey, give the throttle a little Yankee on here. It is one stiff throttle, the carb size, Tom.
44, they're Boswells.
Yep.
So the internals have been changed by Boswell. If anybody knows any history on him. He did some fun things, and Marv had him working pretty well, but the sled that I was driving was for Dan Barker, and it was the same engine. Well, Dan Barker got him running better, and we took the record away from Marvin.
At the speed of?
140.716 in 1,000 feet.
Yeah.
And that was in 1995.
That's moving.
And so that's why this motor was preserved. Marvin quit racing in that class, and this motor literally sat on the shelf at Chopper City until Marvin decided he wanted to sell it to Tommy.
And then I had been beaten at Spirit Mountain in hill climbs with my stock fixed 650 motor in a Centurion with a 136 track. So the next year I built this, and we took it out, and I had a 144 with 2-inch paddles to run the Outlaw class at Spirit Mountain.
This thing had to have been a handful of 2-inch paddles on this little chassis.
It was a fun ride. And this last winter I finally got to be king of the hill, but I could only use it about the one time a year, and I wanted to get back doing a little more speed running stuff, so I kind of accumulated the parts, and both of the guys that I drove for, Marlon Englert and Dan Barker, have both passed away this year, and I wanted to try to do kind of a tribute. So the seat and the gas tank are very similar to the little open mods that I rode for Marlon Englert back in the day. And the gas tank was built by Rick Bates in the mid-'80s on a sled that Timmy Dahlbeck and I built for a guy. So that's my kind of homage to Marlon Englert. Then the engine has Barker Racing parts in it, and it's that same motor we had in it, so that's my homage to Dan Barker.
So every pass down the track on this sled now, you're gonna have a couple of your good friends with you. Every pass down the track now.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
That's awesome. That's the
Yep.
kind of stuff we like to hear. That is so cool. And if you notice on these cylinders here, there isn't just carb boots right to the cylinders like the 650s would have had. There's a little extra back in here. There's a little reed action going on the backside of these cylinders here. That's what really made these PSI motors special back in the day when they were building these things. And these were top of the line. I mean, this was big money back then to have one of these engines built.
Yeah, the Dan Barker had a second one built on the 800 base, and he put over 10 grand in the motor alone.
And this is in the late mid 90s.
Yep.
$10,000, and that's probably pretty comparable to some of these turbo guys that are putting $30,000-$40,000 into these turbo engines on some of these outlaw sleds that are being built now. So what's the fastest you've been down the track on the ice, Tommy, on a snowmobile?
Well, in spring of 86, I was the first person to go over 140 on a powered snowmobile in a quarter mile. And that was 140.252. Well, then 9 years later, riding Dan Barker's Pro Stock, we went 140.716 in 1,000 feet. And that was a full-bodied sled at 605 pounds. So it kind of tells you, on the open field, I was running 2 stages of nitrous, one on the throttle when I went wide open, and then the big red button.
Wow.
And
No nitrous in 95.
no nitrous in the Pro Stock class.
All
So
motor.
all clutching and reeds and
Unreal. So there's a little story. Yeah. So what's the story behind the tennis shoes? Because you talk a lot about doing your speed runs with tennis shoes on. What is this? What's the story on the tennis shoes?
I was running 6 or 7 sleds at a race, including open mod 250 and 340 and 440. So you wanted to be right at the weight limit, and you're running all day. Wearing heavy boots just got tiring.
Yeah.
So I had been wearing tennis shoes on my bracket bike, I guess I'll call it, a lay down old Cosmo chassis, and I was running like 165 on that in a quarter mile back in that era. And I wore tennis shoes then and my Chopper City leathers. And when I started riding the sled, we had a certain weight we had to be, and they just fit in the category, and they're comfortable. I'm on the ice all day. At the end of the day, I would change socks and then go in for the rewards ceremony.
Right.
So
People had to think this guy's lost his mind. He's walking around out here in the lake in tennis shoes.
Full leathers and tennis shoes, I might add.
Yeah, full leathers with tennis shoes, exactly. So is there could you even guess at a horsepower output of this engine? I mean, has it ever been on a dyno?
Well, tell them about the pipes first, so
Okay.
I understand your estimate.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. I did not get the pipes from Marv. I got these pipes out of a dumpster at my friend Kip's house when he was cleaning stuff out. And I
Amazing.
said, I'll take those because they were for an 800cc sled. So the pipes aren't right. They're big volume. I thought they would be great for hill climbing. So now that we're going to be doing speed runs, we'll have to learn it. You know, I mean, this is completely new with this weight and this track and suspension, how much drag it's going to have. I know the clutch is pretty close. So I think it dynoed at like 210 horse when Marv had it a long time ago.
Wow.
So that's a lot.
That's
back
putting
then.
out some horsepower.
Yeah.
Out of this size of an engine, that's putting out some serious
Yeah.
horsepower.
I think we measured it and it came up to 752.
I believe
is,
so, yeah.
With the born stroke.
Yeah,
Nutter with his calculator in his head had it all figured out.
Nutter is good at calculations. Is there there's the name of the sled down here. And like I said, this thing was put together with stuff that you had basically laying around. I mean, you didn't spend big money at all to assemble this thing. I mean,
No.
very low budget build.
Yeah, the hood was one I bought on a 79. The nose was broke off. I had an 80 hood, so I glassed them together. Like I've mentioned before,
Yep.
I could use a nicer hood.
Yep. He's looking for a hood, guys. Anybody watching this video?
79 hood.
And it's going to go fast. If it ever ends up on this sled, that hood's going to be traveling down the ice very fast.
Those cute little skis, Tommy picked them up at a swap meet, and one of them wasn't even fully assembled. So I took it home and TIG welded those side braces on it for him to get them set up on them little cuties.
The bulkhead and tunnel came from a friend at Princeton who accumulated in some of his travels. So it's a Centurion bulkhead and an Indy tunnel, and it just shined her up a little bit. And it used to have a big extension on for the 144.
It's got a few ice studs on it.
The Rick Bates gas tank came from the Les Pins collection. Les was kind enough to sell that to Tommy recently.
Yeah, it's awesome. Just the amount of different parts that got pulled together to build. Going to be a very fast sled. I mean, do you have any prediction, Tommy? I mean, what kind of mile per hour are you hoping to see out of this setup?
I'd like to go out and run 125 with it. That's a nice round number, but it has the potential to maybe run faster. But watch, I'll go out and it'll go like 103.
Well, there's always tuning.
I'll look like the big fool.
Yeah, there's always a little bit of tuning involved.
Yeah, so.
Well, I'd like to close this video out with this thing just popped off one more time. I don't think we can rev it up because the camera doesn't seem to like it, but I think if we can just get it to fire and let it sit and idle for a couple seconds to close out this video, it'd be awesome. To the gang, to the Nutter Shop gang, I'm going to close the video right now. Check out their channel, Nutter Speed Shop. Check out all these guys, what they do. Tommy, thanks for having us over today. Thanks for showing us amazingly fast snowmobile. But thanks for watching, everybody. And let's hear this thing one more time.
Clean the carbs, boys.
Clean the carbs.
Stand behind the stand a little bit there. Shouldn't take much.